Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and it's time to once again take it all in. We're doing one of those again, and we're doing it today inside of Destiny, so I'm going to put on my best Bob Ross voice, and we're going to look out into this wonderful backdrop, and just imagine the little trees. No, we're not actually going to do that, but you guys know, kind of the goal, you know, of these types of videos when I decide to do them is to really admire the elements of a game that we don't normally pay attention to, or that isn't at the focus of the experience. Now, in Far Harbor, which was the first episode that we did, you know, obviously that's the game world that you exist in, you are traveling throughout it, and there's no doubt that Destiny has a lot of beautiful set pieces in terms of the game world that you actually interact with, but one of the things that has always blown me away, not just with Destiny, but with just about anything that Bungie's ever worked on, is the effort that their their art team has always put into the skyboxes and the backdrops. You know, to me, it's always been a key ingredient in what has made their games feel so alive, and has also been a key ingredient in what has made me so emotionally attached to their games and their game worlds. And Destiny, you know, is no exception. You know, we're sitting here in the tower, overlooking the last city. We've got the Traveler, especially at night. You've got that incredible glow coming from the center of the city, and it all sort of tapers out into more of the suburb type areas, and then we see it make its way up into the mountains, you know, past the wall, into the mountains some more, out into the wilderness. We can see forest, and it's so breathtaking, you know? And they've done it in a way where it feels alive. You know, you see the occasional flicker of a light, you know, the movement of something in a distance, like a light, you know, a skylight or something like that, moving back and forth. But at the same time, it looks like a painting. And if you ever gone somewhere in real life that has been so utterly breathtaking that you're at a loss for words to describe that scenario or describe that, you know, that landscape that you're currently in, you may find yourself, you know, looking at it, questioning whether or not it's real. And I've done that quite a few times, especially when I'm out hunting in the woods. You know, you'll see in the fall particularly, you know, you look into the distance on a hillside and you'll see all of these trees, all of these different colors sort of mesh together along the side of this hill. The light is hitting them just right, and it looks, it's like you're looking at a watercolor painting, you know, like a wet media painting, like something Bob Ross would do, and it just completely stuns you for a second. And that's how I've always felt about the skyboxes that the team at Bungie has created. And it's just absolutely incredible. You know, the fog and the small layers they put into everything. So beautiful. There's no denying that. There's no denying that. You can't, no matter how much you may hate or love Destiny, there is no denying how gorgeous and incredible this view right here is. And again, you know, it's something completely outside of what you directly experience while playing Destiny. You could play Destiny for 300 hours and never actually look at this for more than 5 minutes, you know, and really appreciate its beauty and the effort that was put into it. Just incredible. And it does, you know, it makes you, I think it's sort of it's like a positive and a negative, you know, for Bungie, because I look at this and yes, I'm taken in by it, but at the same point, you know, I'm also then getting this craving for, you know, more worlds and more areas of the Destiny, you know, the Destiny landscape to explore. You know, let me go into the city, let me experience it. You know, I want that. I don't know if that's something that will ever happen, but when you create something so beautiful in an artistic form, you know, it makes me want to experience that in a more direct way in the game. And that's always how I felt about, you know, really great books. You know, when you read a lot of amazing, you know, sci-fi and fantasy novels, you know, and when they're really great at creating that sense of imagery, a part of you just wishes so badly that it could exist in one way or another in the real world. Or now, you know, every time I read an amazing book, I think of video games. I'm like, oh, I wish somebody would just recreate this and you know, somehow capture this. And I know that's very hard to translate, to go from, you know, what's in my brain and what I'm creating to somebody making it in game. And I know there's a part of me that if they did, you know, let us go down there and explore, it would probably be, you know, somewhat disappointing because of what I've already worked up in my brain. So there's always that element, you know, that element of you overhyping it mentally and then being let down by it. But nonetheless, you know, they set me up for the want You know, they've given me a taste of what could be, and in my head I've filled in all the blanks and I want to see them make it real. That's what I think of when I look at most, if not all, of the skyboxes and backdrops that Bungie has created for Destiny. Just incredible. You know, you just want to jump down there and just be able to like slow fall and land on one of these streets and make your way into the city, make your way into the wilderness and just explore. And that was kind of the big thing for me, right? You know, we had that small E3 presentation for Destiny, and I think a lot of us thought it was going to be more open world than it ended up being. You know, for positive or negative, however it turned out. You know, I think Destiny's strong point is the fact that it isn't this massive, you know, dull open world. That instead we have these smaller areas that are more concentrated. But, you know, there is still that part of me that, you know, wanted that to be a thing. You know, wanted to hop into my spaceship and glide to different zones and drop in with my friends and just explore forests and massive, beautiful landscapes and, you know, walk under their skyboxes. We got to do all of that to a degree inside of Destiny, and maybe one day the technology will exist for them to be able to do that on a much larger scale, and maybe it will be something that we'll experience. I think it's a huge draw for me when I think of No Man's Sky. You know, I'm not even concerned about what most people are thinking about, like, oh, well, will it get boring? I'm just like, I could do this stuff all day long. You know, you don't have to give me anything to do. Just knowing that I'm in a different world, in a different place, exploring, you know, something that hasn't been explored before is enough for me to get my kicks. Sometimes I don't care how barren something is, as long as it exists and it's beautiful. That can often be more than enough for me. And I know that goes against a lot of what people, you know, critique normally in video games, but damn. Let's head to the Dreadnought. How about it? I actually think the Dreadnought skybox, particularly on the landing zone, is absolutely incredibly stunning. Of course, we have the aftermath of the battle that happened there between the Awoken Queen and her army and, you know, Oryx, the Taken King, and his army. And I think it is also an equally stunning skybox. In my opinion, the Last City and that aftermath of that battle are two of the most stunning backdrops in Destiny, without a doubt. When I think of like artwork, I'd love to have hung and framed in the largest possible resolution in my home, in my perfect gaming room. I do think of those two things among, you know, 100 other games in my head and their environments, but those two are without a doubt right at the top of the list. So let's make our way over there. You know, we talk also about open world games and you know, linear games, and I did want to briefly touch on this. I think this is a great topic for another time when I flesh it out more, but you know, we were talking about Watch Dogs. A couple of you guys pointed out, you know, how Ubisoft is a little bit too caught up in the open world thing. And it's funny because no one ever like said that linear experiences were bad or that they, you know, they need to go away. You know, no one ever said that. You know, a good game is a good game in my opinion, but open world games became such a big thing at some point. You know, the draw, the idea, the allure of just saying it's a fully open world, you know. And I'd have to say that Grand Theft Auto is probably one of the games that helped pioneer that mentality without a doubt. You know, so many developers after that, I think, you know, think of like, oh, what could we do with an open world? And I think as a developer, as a creator, an artist, a programmer, an animator, it would be very easy to get caught up in the idea of what could we do with an open world, you know? And I think that happens often, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of us, you know, talking about Watch Dogs and how that potentially could have been one of its faults. And I think Mirror's Edge Catalyst, you know, which I was playing a little bit of, and I just haven't decided to cover on the channel because I don't have much to say positively, but it's one of those games, you know, where you took the formula that worked in the first game was actually purely because of the fact that it was more linear. You know, it was about giving the player the tool set, which was Faith's abilities, and then allowing them to exist in, you know, a more linear environment. And I think that was one of the strong points behind what drove the action, the drama, and the momentum of the first Mirror's Edge. And I think by creating this open world, which also feels incredibly dull in Catalyst, you know, they've weakened a lot of those strong points from the first game. And of course, that's the big thing. You know, I think open worlds are incredible. I love open world games. You know I do. But it's a matter of, you know, how do you fill them? How do you populate them? How do you bring them to life? How do you make sure that every time the player steps into a new area, they feel like they're truly exploring something for the first time, almost as if they were in real life? You know, The Witcher 3 is an outstanding game in that respect, and I you know, I praise it to death, and a lot of you agree with me, and it's only gotten better with the expansions recently, but it is one of those games that I can pick up and I can just go to a new area. I can go there for an Adventure Time episode, and I'm just always taken in by the world design, and then it's sort of the, you know, it's the having your whatever and having the cake too. I'm at a loss for expressions right now. You know, because you go there and it's beautiful and you're stoked about the environment, you're stoked about exploring this new area, but then The Witcher almost always gives you like a reward, like, oh, there's a quest here, there's something interesting to interact with here. You know, so it fulfills both of those checkboxes that I think most people have in their head when we talk about open world games. Look at this though. Look at this, man. Freaking incredible. Oh, it makes you want to get into a fighter, get into your ship, and just blasting out there, bank through the remains of this battle, you know, and just see what you can find, or just float around in space. It's stunning, man. Absolutely stunning. I get so taken in every time I come to the Dreadnought to like quest or something. Like, I've been trying to level up my Hunter recently and actually get my Hunter to the same status as my Titan. And I end up like coming to the Dreadnought and I'm just like, oh man, I forgot about that view. Oh, there's stuff to kill back there. Oh, I need that guy. I could use some of that. No, you know what? I'll just stay here because look at this. It's like, you know, how could you not get caught up by all of that? I'm hoping that I'll be able to do a lot of this No Man's Sky. You know, that No Man's Sky will have that same element of like awe, you know, when you go to a new planet. And it'll be interesting to see how long that lasts, you know, because I do very much enjoy the idea in my head right now of exploration in No Man's Sky, of just being that person who goes from one planet to the next, just taking it all in. It's not so pretty when you do that anymore. Let's just stick to Hawkmoon for looking around. And I think a lot of the environments, you know, in Destiny do a great job of this. Like I said, even in the in-game thing. But I think, for me, the grandeur exists more so in the skyboxes, in the backdrops of the game worlds, where your imagination is left to fill in the blanks. And like I said, I think that's the big thing, too, that you have to recognize when you create an open-world game. To create something as meticulous as The Witcher 3 requires an insane amount of effort. I can only imagine, you know, the hardships and the effort that was put in by CD Projekt. And I'm not saying that other developers don't do the same thing, but, you know, there's so many other restrictions that go on behind a studio. And CD Projekt is very fortunate to have a lot of the restrictions removed because they are more of an independent studio. So that there's no doubt that that benefits them, which is why we probably won't see, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 for maybe another 2 years. But I imagine when we do, it'll be epic. You know, it'll be a masterpiece. I would be shocked if it wasn't. Let's just put it that way. You know, that's how I feel after The Witcher 3. They're such an incredible developer, and they're in what to me seems like an amazing opportunity. And just recently, actually, their government, the Polish government, you know, is going to be giving $20 million to a developer that like shows extraordinary risks. You know, so you've got a government that is saying to them, like, take the risks, do something amazing. And that's like best case scenario for a developer. I imagine a lot of people would like to be in their shoes right now. So I guess that's it, guys. I could go on, like I said, and I'm sure we could visit some of the other beautiful backdrops and skyboxes in Destiny, and maybe we will at some point. It'll be exciting to see, you know, what kind of backdrops and skyboxes we get with Rise of Iron. You know, taking us to new places. I'm really excited to see what Winterfell Peak is like. Yeah, Fellwinter Peak is like. I'm thinking of a different game here. Thank you guys for joining me. Take some time this weekend. You know, sit down with some of your favorite games and maybe spend some time exploring the elements of the game that exist, that are there, that someone has clearly put love and dedication into, but that you don't normally interact with. Elements that aren't part of the core experience, and take it all in, appreciate it, and, you know, see how it affects you emotionally and mentally. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will see you in the next one.